we're not really going to cover this as a story tonight, but I think it's worthwhile having a couple of minute look at what's going on in Los Angeles at the moment. They did show this clip on One News tonight, but they didn't show the clip in its entirety. This is the Australian journalist that was shot with a rubber bullet. And the thing that it's showing online is it's not just like an accidental, as it's going by. Let's have a look at that clip. This is from a Twitter account, I think.
Has now rapidly deteriorated. The LAPD.
I'll play it a couple of times because if you pause it, you can see the soldier. Actually, faux pas. Oops, maybe. The police officer. And they're saying aimed at her. I actually think are aiming at the camera operator because it looks like it's just to the side of her. Let's have a look.
Moving in on horseback, firing rubber bullets at protesters, moving them on through the heart of LA.
I can't believe she didn't even flinch when that went off. I flinched watching it, and she's just standing there looking at me. She's a hard out. So I see this guy here. Actually, I'll pause it in the perfect spot. That guy right there on the last one. See how he's lifting up his gun? There you go. And I actually think he's pointing it straight here. It feels like it's going straight for this. Now, of course, that could mean he's going for someone behind or whatever. But to me, when I just before the fire, the barrel is lined up directly down, pardon the pun, but down the barrel of the camera. So that's what it looks like he's aiming towards me. Let's go back and just show it again.
Out of LA.
You just shut the fuck up. You okay?
That's so egregious.
I'm going to see if I can get it in the right spot. But yeah, so this is what's going on. See, look, there he is there. Look, see, this is the barrel. That's wrong with my fingers. To me, it looks like, obviously, unless these rubber bullet things are like in the Civil War, apparently without a proper rifled barrel, when you shoot, it kind of can almost go anywhere, sort of thing. That's why a lot of people in duels back in the 1800s didn't die, because they didn't miss them. Unless rubber bullet weapons are like that, like he was then he was obviously aiming at her because it hit her. But yeah, there you go. You saw just that, but there it was like, it's pretty. But typical Aussie, she's kind of obviously in so much pain, she starts laughing. Yeah, I'm all right, like that kind of vibe. But I wanted to do a couple other things as well, because I wanted us to remember something that happened early 1990s. And this is a CNN program, so there's lots of imagery that goes over it. But I want to show you two graphics. So this is the Rodney King beating right now. There's graphics. So you go. So we all know the story of this. What happened after the riots? So there was Rodney King on the ground, and they're just going at him with their batons, and it goes again and again and again and again. And this is sort of the CNN did the story. Look, standing on him. The first sort of viral story.
That the US solved this problem, eh?
Well, this is the thing I'm going to show you, Chewie, because I'm going to show you next, you mightn't be surprised, some footage from the current way that the police right now are treating protesters. See this guy on the ground here? These are horses around him. And what they're doing is actively trampling him with their horses. You have a look. See, he's on the ground there? There's horses all around him. Watch. Right on, look, this horse here. Look, that one's just stomped on him. That one's going to come over. Look, that one there's just stomping over the top of him. This is going on right now. Right beside him, look, horse is right beside him. And then as he tries to get up, they give him a biff. Look, he's got his billy club in his hand.
Look,
and then he...
I'm going to make... I was going to make a point here that there's fireworks going off and those horses might have been startled. But then there's the baton strikes. And then there's the other cop that comes in and fucking grabs him. So,
I think it's just that the point I wanted to make is, people talk about, moving on, a more peaceful world. We'd never do what we did. We'd never have slaves again. We'd never make the black people drink in another. We'd never do this. We'd never treat people. Now that there's all these cameras around, in the 1980s, of course, NWA wrote albums about Los Angeles cops because no one could see anything. But since Rodney King, that's all stopped. Well, I know it's not exactly the same, but actively, police with their horses trampling a on the ground protester. What's changed?
It's nothing. I was going to say about rubber bullets as well. For those of you that don't know, rubber, being hit with a rubber bullet doesn't sound so bad. They say it's non-lethal or less lethal rounds. It is a rubber core around a metal object. And
They still kill people.
Yeah. If you get hit in the right place, like there was a journalist that lost an eye at a protest a few years back, directly aimed at the face, like this absolutely destroyed their eye. Took a case against the police department involved and won it handily. Got millions and millions out of them. How I saw that that reporter getting shot was actually that the rubber round may have been skipped off the ground.
Yeah.
So what happens when police do that is the rubber sheath comes off, and the round shatters into little shards of shrapnel and little bits of metal. It's not trained. It's not something that they're supposed to do, of course, but it's something that they can do. This has been a massive overreaction.
I've had a look at some videos today, and I noticed that the police officers walking forward and shooting into the ground, that is a tactic. And I thought, because they're at least trying to not hit them in the face or in the chest. I think my distant relations went through all the troubles in Ireland and were part of the IRA fighting, and there was lots of people killed by rubber bullets. It might have been a different technology then, but they are less lethal. They're not non-lethal. And they were true. They were walking like, if you're 2 meters in front of me protesting, you're walking backwards, and they are shooting them at their feet. So that's actively happening. I could find that video if you want to see it, but that is actually actively. And you're right, because if she got hit in the leg, right, obviously they are pointing them down. So that's happening.
The police have used tear gas to disperse crowds and that sort of thing, and it's very easy to get hit in the head with a 40mm smoke grenade round.
Yeah.
So and that's the actions on the ground. Where it's come from is Donald Trump has gone over Gavin Newsom, the California governor. Ordinarily, the only people that can call out the National Guard are the state governors.
Hang on. No, that's not entirely true.
Usually,
the local governors control the police. The president has the right to call in the local the National Guard. But the last time they did it without governor approval was in the 1960s, and you can guess what kind of protest that was.
I was just about to say that traditionally the president hasn't.
Yeah. Yes.
It's been reserved for the state governors to call them in times of emergency or civil unrest. They're using an act from the mid 1800s to do it.
Is it still the Insurrection Act? Is that what it's saying?
It's the Insurrection Act. From the 1800s. The last time that was used by the president reaching over top of a state governor was when they desegregated schools in the South, and they used the US 101st Airborne to escort children into schools. That was the last time. So there was no signs that this protest action in LA against these heavily militarized ICE raids in of workplaces and festivals and specific neighborhoods throughout Minneapolis was the first time that the people really sort of started to push back against that. And then here in LA was outside of the control of the LAPD. They had sheriffs, they had LAPD, and they had Border Patrol, ICE. I've seen footage from US Marines going into Fallujah that had less gear than what these guys had.
Yeah, my faux pas saying soldier instead of officer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an incredibly militarized police force over there. So it was well within the pushback, their capabilities to do what they wanted to do, but the people were starting to come out. And then Donald Trump has poured gasoline on this fire.
Yeah.
By pulling the National Guard in. Now remember, the National Guard are not trained for policing. They are part-time soldiers.
Yeah.
So they are not going to react the same way as law enforcement is, even in the American context. So it is insane.
But and what's happening
there this quickly?
what's happening now as well. Like, so what a lot of commentators in America are doing is Trump was just sitting there with his finger on the dial, waiting for the first car to be flipped or something, and then like brrr, National Guard. Like he was just because he wants to put this authoritarian tough man in there. But what's now happening, of course, is because the protesters are protesting authoritarians, they're protesting, force and stuff. So now the police are getting the flack of it. So some of the protests are happening down around the LAPD stations, and the police are at the front to protect their station. But that, of course, is going to escalate as well. So the reports I've seen are the police and the sheriffs are like, we're not into this. We don't agree with Trump. Like the people are talking like, we're not. But now, of course, you're looking for a place of authority or a authoritarian figure, then obviously the LAPD is going to be a part of that, especially with the history of it when you look at the videos like the things we've just shown you to do with Rodney King. So yeah, it's pretty ugly overall, and it's pretty horrific what's going on. But we get the government we vote for, whānau, and this is the government America has voted for.
I saw a couple of really good points for some friends of mine online. One of them who grew up in the LA area, obviously mentioned the scars of the past, like the LA race riots and all of that sort of thing. But specifically, because this was her background as well, specifically how enmeshed the Hispanic community is in LA. It's a big part of the culture of that city.
Of course.
That this sort of stuff was never going to go unresisted. And one of the things that's happened is on Reddit, somebody with some knowledge of what ICE are doing is publicizing where they're going to raid, which is giving people a chance to respond. The other part of it is, as far as Donald Trump's prejudices towards California, being a Democratic state with a Democratic governor,
Sanctuary City.
He's the sanctuary cities, how he responded to the LA wildfires and who he blamed for that. This is absolutely perfect that it is kicking off in LA.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's to his benefit. It's accelerationism. I see Hegseth is talking about deploying the Marines from, I think, Camp Pendleton, which is in there, which is again like not the National Guard, the actual Marines.
Yeah, I saw it. That was on the news tonight as well, calling the Marines in,
which is a huge escalation as well.
Yeah.
I find it funny that the people on the right that were always talking about government overreach and having to push back against tyranny, here it is. Where are you?